Hey Mustangs. So this week what I'm going to have you guys do is because we're kind of limited with what we can do in writing code and testing it, I found that there is a robot mesh more or less simulator or emulator that we can use called Robot Mimic. And I was able to kind of create something and work with Robot Mesh to kind of create an assignment for you guys. Now, if you haven't done some of the coding for variables and functions, I would go ahead and kind of look through those and watch the videos so that this assignment might be a little bit easier for you. I think most everyone was on loops, and this will be the video that you're watching on kind of how to do this stuff. So without further ado, you're going to go ahead and log in on Robot Mesh. And then we're going to have you do, instead of being in My Projects, I'm going to have you go over to Public Projects and just kind of wait for that to load. It may take a minute, especially on your Chromebook. And I imagine that I'm not sure how well the Mimic is going to run on the Chromebooks either. So if you do have a stronger computer at home, it might be a good idea to download the Chrome extension and then of course download the other necessary files that we had to download in the beginning to get this to work. And at any rate, you're going to go to Public Projects and you should go to Date Created because I did create this over the weekend here. And what you're going to want to do is search for POE MHHS Maze Robot. And once you click on that, you're going to land on this project, which I have behind me. And so it's going to take a minute to load. It'll take a while. And there's a bunch of screens that end up loading. So this is the project that you guys are going to work in. And the first thing that you should do is actually go to Options and copy that project. You don't need to make it public. You should make it private for yourself. Because I want you guys to you can work with your partners and you can share screens through the Google Apps on your Chromebooks. I would recommend that you guys kind of work on this and try some things together. And also in addition to that, and writing some pseudocode for yourselves. We haven't really discussed that much, but if you've gone into doing functions and things like that, you're going to want to create functions that make your robot do things. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So make a private one, and then you're going to be making a copy. You'd copy the project, and then you'd rename it something else. Okay. You can include the code if you want. This is generic code. I'm just going to kind of show you. It's not perfect. It's just something that works so you can see in testing. Keep the motors where they're at. You can rename things, anything you want. You have a bump switch, which is in the front of the robot. You have an ultrasonic sensor, which is going to be important. Let me show you here. You can scrolling in and out on your mouse ends up zooming in and out on the project. If you hold your middle mouse button, hold your left click button down, it rotates this for you. And if you hold your right one down, it allows you to move it and slide it back and forth. Kind of like a little bit how we do it in Inventor. Your goal is to get the robot over here to the green. Now, how you're going to do that is you're going to be using the bump sensor. And what we end up doing is you actually want to use the ultrasonic sensor here to kind of keep a distance from the wall. Okay, so that's going to be like a left distance more or less. And you can, my goal is for you to kind of create this on your own, but you know, there might be stuff online to help you, but you should try to think of solving this on your own. You do get a week to kind of work on this, and I expect you to kind of work on it definitely, and send me some troubleshooting issues if you want. But that's our ultimate goal, and it should be kind of a fun project. At any rate, here's how we end up using this. You're going to want to make sure all you got to do is once you write your code, you can hit play. You can also just debug, build, and just check for errors, and it'll compile and check for errors. But once we hit run, it's going to run this program. And mine is just really cheesy. It just, let's see if it's going to run here. Play. There we go. Maybe I didn't hit play. Mine just kind of hits the wall and it moves. It turns and then it hits another wall and it turns. So this isn't the program that's going to solve your maze. I'm just kind of showing you something so you can see it working. It may look slower on your Chromebooks. I don't know. So it's going to bump, it backs up, and then it should turn here. There we go. Looks like it's running a little. I don't know why it runs differently when I record. But that's pretty weird. But for the most part, it should just be hitting the wall and turning. It runs so much differently when I'm not recording, I'll be honest. So it backs up, and then it should go ahead and turn. I think it's because of the frames. At any rate, that's how you can kind of see some stuff here. You can hit stop or pause Okay, what you can also do, I believe, is you can get your robot to kind of run here. I was able to, I'm sure you can figure it out when you get some things running, and you'll notice that there's actually values on these motors. And if you want to look it up on a find, this is because these are motor encoders. So they kind of count, I don't know what the rotation is, but they're actually counting how far the car is going. So if you want to figure out how to use that, you can do some Googling to see what you can get there and how to code those in. You might even want to use Blockly to kind of get started to see how those things work. But more or less, again, this is how I want you guys to kind of set it up. As far as pseudocoding goes, once you get your functions going, the # allows you to go ahead and comment in. So if this, for example, the if up here was actually a function, I could write that this function, this turns my robot to the right 90 degrees until it hits the bump again. Okay, so in just writing some comments down and what things do, it's going to be important. You'll notice that there's also some LEDs on your robot, a red one and a green one. They are located, and if you zoom in close enough, I believe the green one is located over here and the red one is located over here. You can actually add more LEDs in here by adding components if you want and going to the common library up here. Just in general, you can add some devices. So if you want to add some stuff on here and you figure out how to do that, by all means, go ahead and do that. If you want to add another yellow LED or something, you can do that. But for the most part, we want to keep what's on the car. The LEDs, when you run the program, will tell you, but you can see when it's running what's going on there. They'll tell you what part of your program it's running if you have that in some sort of a loop, right? So that LED will stay on if you're inside of that. So it's kind of nice, right? If your bump switch is hit, maybe something goes on, or when it's performing an action. That'll be good to use. So at any rate, have fun. Try some programming in here. See what you can get to work. And I think once you get it kind of following and doing some stuff, it shouldn't be too hard to solve. And then I'm going to have you do, I'll have a write-up for you. We have a little time to work on this, provided we actually come back from spring break. And we can see if we can all group together and see if we can get this to work if you can't figure it out. Or hopefully we can just move into our next unit if that's the case. But this is just an opportunity for you guys to have a little fun, I hope, and try to learn a little bit more about programming. If you get stuck, let me know. Start out with some basics. Okay, you're going to need to make sure that you can get, once your robot hits something, that it's turning. You're going to need to make sure that it's actually following along a wall with that sonar set. That's the biggest key here. Okay. All right. That is it. Good luck. Send me emails if you guys have questions, and maybe on Wednesday we can have a little like class meeting, if you will. Maybe like first, second, or third period. All depends on when everyone's available. So shoot me an email. See if everyone's available during like third period maybe. If you don't have a meeting with the teacher, and we can all kind of chat and meet up from all POE classes. Stay healthy, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Ciao.